Hello, my name's Kate, and I like to explain things. And today, well, I've already done it once, but I'm trying new stuff with sound recording, and I lost it all. Oh, God. I want to talk about a thing that I think we just, like those words that you might use, and you're like, I know what this means, right? Not me, obviously. I've never done that. I've never had like almost a year of psychology undergraduate under my belt, taking a class in cognitive research. No, without knowing what cognitive was. I am not that person. I always ask, and am willing to look like I don't know something. Always. That's me. Anyway, I really think we should be talking more about what it means to be a reactionary. So, like, straight off the bat, from the way I phrase that sentence, a reactionary is a person. It's a way to describe a person. And basically, when you're hearing and you're breaking it down, like, react is in there. Reaction, reactions, reactionary. So, to be a reactionary is to experience something and then say, oh, my first thought's the only thought, let's do this. First thought or no thoughts, let's just go. Let's just go. My reaction is what matters, and we're just going to move on from there and plan our entire lives around the one reaction. In my, original recording, I talked about, like, okay, so what happens when you see a homeless person? When you see somebody who's living rough, they haven't maybe showered, they might be behaving erratically because either a lack of sleep or like there's other reasons a homeless person might be behaving erratically too. But ultimately, if your first reaction is, oh, I don't want to be around this person, I don't think that is a very good look, but it is a reaction that is logical. I can't be around stinky things. I don't have a problem with stinky people, but like, I get it. Except not really, because the difference between having a reaction and being a reactionary is saying, I'm uncomfortable in this situation, get it away from me. Get this person away from me. And like, I would say that is a simplification of things when it comes to politics, except that they literally have for years in my home state of Oregon, in both larger metro areas that I have lived in, literally banned sleeping rough and had to go to the Supreme Court in order to decide whether or not it's okay to just say, get away from me, homeless person, I don't want to see your existence. In Portland, there are camps that was the plan. The plan from a democratic controlled everything was, we are going to take people from where they want to be and put them in a place where we control who goes in and who goes out, and you have to be there. Okay, so how is that not being reactionary? How is that not saying, I'm uncomfortable in this situation, get it away from me. Get this person away from me. Obviously, not a big fan of reactionariness and being a reactionary. So what's the solution? I think everybody needs to be a little bit more like Leo McGarry.
Tonight's morning, Mr. McGarry.
We'll take care of that in a hurry, won't we, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, Leo McGarry is the fictional grandpapa of The West Wing. You'd think that the president's the head of The West Wing, but actually, no. It's the title for the thing that I cannot recall. I sure will record myself saying it when I do. Yeah, I almost had it. Chief of Staff! The Chief of Staff. Leo McGarry is characterized to be...
Yes, 17 across is wrong. You're spelling his name wrong. What's my name? My name doesn't matter. I'm just an ordinary citizen who relies on the Times crossword for stimulation. And I'm telling you that I've met the man twice, And I've recommended a preemptive exocet missile strike against his Air Force, so I think I know how to... They hang up on me every time.
That's almost hard to believe.
This all-knowing political person who's been in politics for 30 years, who has basically got an unknown president elected, an unknown president from the state of New Hampshire elected president, who was too liberal for the 90s, which isn't hard to do, but like we didn't know what we know now about the 90s. Anyway, his basically like the sage advice when you don't like the question that a political reporter is asking you, don't accept the premise of the question.
Now remember, you control the conversation. If you don't like what they ask, don't accept the premise of the question.
That's my line, you know. You're quoting me.
I thought it was Toby.
Where do you think you got it? I've been rejecting the premises of questions since the Hoover administration.
Mr. McGarry, are you still in AA?
Good to see you, Christine.
Okay. I am afraid that premise is another one of those words. Because I feel like I went a long time using the word premise without really understanding what I was meaning. So, premise is like the starting point, right? So you have the particulars of a question, potentially, like, should I date this guy? And you can list off all the good and bad qualities of this guy, but ultimately, you've accepted several premises. Premises? I'm not saying premise or premises. I'm saying premises. So, 1, you've accepted the premise that you should be dating men. Potentially that's not true for you. Investigate that. 2, you've accepted the premise that you should be dating at all. Potentially you shouldn't be, for lots of reasons. You should investigate that. But you see the difference, right? So like, should I date this man? He's a good person. He treats me well. He's nice to his mother. He has friends. And the bar is in the center of the earth. The molten, well actually, do we have a solid iron core? The solid iron core of the earth. Or whatever molten iron core. I think it's iron. Anyway, the bar is really low for men, okay? Consider dating women, consider not dating. Like, these are things that you should maybe consider before accepting the premise that you should be dating this man. Right? With our larger analogy, what premise are we accepting when we are saying it's okay to just wash our hands and push them literally into a camp when we're very uncomfortable with seeing a homeless person? What premise are we accepting when you're thinking about it? Pushing people against their will into a camp is like the logical outgrowth of like literally ignoring the problem, or potentially give them money, like, you know, and that's perfectly fine. I think both options are not inherently morally glad that my phone cut me off there, because I actually really do think that there's a morally superior option. I just don't take it. I do think you maybe want to give money to homeless people, and I just don't take the morally superior option, and this is why I didn't want to put a moral judgment on it. But the logical outgrowth of the second option, the giving money option, is perhaps like, okay, so we should give people housing, we should get people into treatment, we should be getting people mental health services, we should be doing lots of stuff to support people. And I think that is clearly morally superior to, I don't want to see you in public, so I want you to go to a camp, right? Like, that's clearly morally superior. However, we've really missed the major premise of this, which is, should homelessness exist, right? Should homelessness exist? By individual donations, we're accepting that to a certain extent, to whatever extent that is true for you, because like maybe you don't give to an individual homeless person, maybe you give to a food bank, maybe you give to, like, my small town has an organization that works specifically in homelessness services. Like, there's a spectrum, right, of what we're doing here. And I just think in that spectrum of things that I'm like, yeah, this is what but we need to remember that we've accepted the premise that it's okay for homelessness to exist if we're doing individual charitable donations. Unless we are fighting to end homelessness by providing stable housing by having debt relief. Like, literally, a man's story haunts my dreams because essentially every time he gets into stable housing, he gets kicked out of stable housing because the feds find him and start making him pay his student loans. So his student loans, the stuff that was supposed to help him get, like, out of whatever, help him financially for the rest of his life, are what are preventing him from having stable housing. So, like, debt relief, real debt relief, actually is functional. And with that, we would need a functioning Department of Education that could figure out all these things. I just think it's really hilarious that there are people in this world who are like, well, there's a whole bunch of waste in the government, so that means we should have less of it instead of, like, managing it, which would mean hiring more people. Like, you've accepted the premise that you want no government, which is wild. It's wild. That's the wrong premise. Let's not accept that. We're not, sorry. Oh gosh, the wind. Wind blew some of the sprinkler on. It was not just mist, it was, oh no. Okay, maybe I need to stop rambling because I have been talking for almost 15 minutes now. But can you see what I'm saying here, right? Whose premise are we accepting and who's asking us to accept it, right? Because if it's people who are like, I don't want to pay taxes, that's why we can't end homelessness, is I don't want to pay taxes. How is that moral? How is that moral? I don't want to pay taxes is not an acceptable reason to ignore homelessness. Because I can guarantee you it's going to keep existing if we aren't paying for people having massive changes in the way that we structure our society. From the ground of, like, let's build affordable homes to let's pay for people to be in affordable housing until they get out, and not put limits on it, because putting limits on it really doesn't help. But again, I am getting distracted. My call is to say it's okay to have reactions. We all have them. You simply cannot get around it. You will have a reaction, and sometimes that reaction will be negative. The difference between being a reactionary and being a human being with reactions is to what extent you are willing to accept the premise that it's okay for things to stay the same. And obviously, I have chosen a very easy, I think. You would think it would be easy to be like, oh, actually, homeless people have a right to exist, and so that means we need to help them. And helping them looks like not trying to brush them under the table, but, like, actually engaging with them as human beings. Like, you would think that. But anyway, there are more dicey things clearly in the world than should I date this man, or, like, should I go to the university? Because, like, that's another, right? Should you? I think you should. So, like, also don't take, sometimes the answer is yes. Throwing things out just because is also a reactionary stance, and it's really not helpful. So the call is to think. The call is to think. It's to rise above your reactions and think. Am I accepting the premise? Am I acting with moral superiority? And moral superiority would be like acting within my own rules, right? Right. Am I being consistent? Or am I allowing hypocrisies to exist? Okay, I simply must include this example because it is perfectly illustrative of what I'm talking about. In the 1950s, during the Red Scare, when, ostensibly we're trying to figure out who is and who's into communists, because the communists are obviously going to be spying for the Soviets, but really what we're doing is giving Joseph McCarthy permission to declare some people American and some people un-American. Well, the un-American people are the communists, but also the homosexuals. In the Lavender Scare, the federal government decided, wouldn't an enterprising Soviet spy try to out an employee of the federal government as a way to blackmail them into becoming a double agent? And well, there is no evidence that this ever really happened. There is evidence of people being fired for the potential for it to happen. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Ultimately, instead of doing the easy thing, which would be to tell all the employees that we're not going to fire you for being gay, they decided to spend a lot of money investigating whether or not somebody is actually gay or could potentially be blackmailed for gay activities.
Haven't lists gone out with Joe McCarthy and hula hoops?
The circular logic lost. Guys, it's important to reject the premise. I'm just saying. Don't let yourself look like an idiot. Take a deep breath and don't accept the premise. Unless it's probably a good one, like going to college. You should probably go to college unless it's gonna, like, again, create a crazy undue burden, because that puts you in financial ruin for the rest of your life. Because that's not worth a college degree. Much is, though. Much is. Okay. Sure hope I explained something, because I really felt like the first time I said this, I did. And if I, in fact, didn't this time, I'm going to be really annoyed. Anyway, I'm Kate, and I think I've explained something. Goodbye! Oh, shoot. I should have recorded a flintle.